Something happened over here. Are you messing with that remote though? Yeah, but did you change something over there? So I can just unplug that.
I left the settings open.
I'm not letting anybody in yet. Yeah. You just tab out. There it goes. I put it on for 2.5 hours. It's just recording it. Oh no, this isn't. There's no way to do that with the coming from Google. Won't work. You make sure we're sharing the screen right. Let's go over that green box. Okay, good. I just want to make sure it wasn't showing in like regular view. You want to let Bobbi in and we can do a mic check real quick?
There, Bobby.
Hey, Bobbi, can you hear us?
Bobby.
Can you hear us? Oh, good. Cool. I don't blame her. I don't want to speak either. I would. Someone in this organization's got to be serious. No joking around. Oh.
That's what we have Danielle for.
Bobby, can you try and keep an eye on the chat tonight and unmute if something comes up that I miss?
Nice out. Howdy, howdy.
Wow.
Yeah.
First one. I wasn't sure which building, because when I came last time it was dark, I was like.
Yeah, I know.
It's daylight.
I know it's daylight. Yeah, I know. It's like we got out of practice and it's still daylight out. It's like, what is this? I think I'm gonna like it less and less now that I'm not getting up at dark 30 in the morning. Like I'm not getting up at 4 in the morning anymore. So I don't think I'm gonna like it. Well, in my younger days, I get up around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Now with the kids, I don't bother getting up till like 6:30. Yeah. Look at this guy. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Good. How are
That side. Felt so long.
This is a very long week.
We're in very good school. permanent position was during COVID, and then I just started. I do. I like the flexibility. Like yesterday, I went into the office for a little bit, and it was nice to talk to people. But
Welcome to the party. Do what? Of course you did. Of course you did. I'm surprised you didn't drive like, I went to Toledo and then to Boston.
oh, we don't forget everybody.
This has got to be the most awkward meeting ever.
We're gonna set a precedent.
Howdy, howdy.
Hi, how are you?
Howdy, y'all. Grab a seat.
Bishop.
Should be plenty of room. We'll give it a few extra minutes. She got married, went to Vegas, met a guy, ran off.
Very
I always look at tattoos as like I have one and I put it in a spot that I figured in another 30 years when it sags down to like it's on my side. I figure when it gets down to here on my thigh, nobody will be able to see it anyway. So
professionally, it won't be. Yes. Everything about getting a tattoo. 18.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome.
I think this was the place. It looked like somebody's house.
I know. I love this little spot though. Reason being, it's free. Yeah. What's up? Nice shirt, man. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the next song and dance. You'll see a lot of the old hits and maybe some new. It's a lot of the same story. Some of them new.
Good job.
Or you're supporting Edgewood. One of the two. You're either supporting MCA or Edgewood. Drew, we don't love you enough to stay home.
You don't get to go play.
I almost had to bring my sons. So they would have been sitting in the back room. Can you go ahead and let everyone in who's waiting, and then I'll go ahead and I'll say Tony George. Yes, sir. Yeah. We were just waiting. We were waiting until like 6 o'clock. We're letting people in now. No, you're good. Yeah, we're letting everyone in now. Just I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes, but no, you're good. See ya. The folks on Zoom were getting restless. They're like, it's 6:03. Why is this thing not going yet? Hello to everyone out in Zoom land. We're gonna get going in a couple minutes.
Was that true? Were you getting restless?
I don't know why I scheduled a meeting during March Madness. That was dumb.
I talked to her yesterday. Yeah, I mean, they have to open it up, which I expected, so end of May, there should be a decision.
All right, we'll give it one more minute. It's almost 6:05. For those of you who've been these before, again, you'll see some things you've already seen. Those of you who are new, the first part's a sales pitch. Fair warning. It's me telling you why we need it, even though everyone here seems to probably already know why we need this. And then the other side of it is I've got documents we can look at. I've got the actual investor stuff that probably is what most people are interested in, the numbers. And then the last part is sales pitching, because we're just going to show you pictures of the place, and you'll probably be like, okay, this is wonderful, because that's what we thought when we went into it too. So all right, let's go ahead and get going. So first off, if you don't know me, I'm Steve Swann. I'm the president of Muddy Creek Athletics. Danielle Spiglers, she's been promoted to secretary in the last like 12 hours. We do volleyball training. We both coach for intensity, even though this is not intensity. This is meant to be for everyone. The biggest thing to remember is we're going to be throwing a lot of numbers out later. So if you got any questions about those, please just stop me and ask. Because we're going to be talking actual, instead of like kind of pie in the sky stuff, we're talking dollars and cents in the real movement now. So let the sales pitch begin. Harford County's ready for this. I mean, we all know this. We can breeze through most of these slides. At the end of the day, we all know that we work out of, Harford Day, we work out of Highlands, we work out of Grace Classical. They're adequate, barely, in many respects. For volleyball, there's not a serving space. There's no way to run tournaments. For basketball, there's only probably a couple courts in the whole county that are feasible for full court basketball. So at the end of the day, you've got limited resources with consumers that have outstripped it. Probably like 5 years ago when I first got here, we had a problem. We had a minor problem with coaches and courts. We're solving that coach problem to some degree. Now we've got the court problem. Don't have space for everyone. Next slide. Here's some numbers. Again, I figured if I had to ever show any of this to people who don't know the space, they'd want to see this. We had like a 30% increase year on year just at intensity. And I'll use those. I'll refer back to intensity because I know the numbers there. From girls who tried out. The boys game, there's not enough space for them. That needs to grow considerably. There's a whole lot of room there. And again, just volleyball in general as a youth sport has grown significantly over the last few years. Like I said, facilities and coaches. Those are the two things that kind of drive this. We don't have coaches. We don't have facilities. We've got the coaches kind of thing figured out. Because I mean, what? Intensity fielded 14 teams. How many did Premier field on the girls and boys side combined? Just in Harford County. Boys, there were like 4 or 5. 4. And the girls side was probably another 8 at least. Apex fielded probably 4 or 5 teams. You've got MVA to the south, which is still looking, they could probably fill up more teams if they wanted to. But it's funny, the volleyball world is very kind of, I don't know, it's almost like you've got your own fiefdoms. Like MVA has like Northern Baltimore up to like Kingsville, and then you kind of got the Harford County clubs, and then you go start stretching in Delaware and Cecil County. I don't really see, again, this facility kind of concept is, I answered another parent earlier today, this isn't going to be a club-specific spot. Like, realistically, the spot we're looking at has room for 8 volleyball courts. That's 32 teams possible practicing. That's no club can fill it up on their own. So I would want to push that towards all the clubs. To be honest, it only helps the game get better, which only helps us get better players. And no offense, it's like Chris and I were talking about yesterday about like bringing in coaches and people from outside the area. You know what? Travel 100 miles to come to our clinic at Grace Classical Academy. It just doesn't sell itself that well. So next slide. Again, like I touched on, don't have adequate boundary space, and they're expensive. Like for me to rent a court, it's $70 an hour for a lesson. So right now, some of you know, for a private lesson with me, I charge $120 an hour. $70 goes to the court right off the top. I can't do anything about that. I keep 50, but that helps me cover my rent for my storage unit, covers me equipment I got to purchase, my time away from my wife and kids. So if we can bring the price down a little bit and have better facilities for our athletes, that's a win all the way around. Next slide. Coaches, as I'm sure any of you, having been in this world long enough, know, and your sons and daughters will know, you know within like 35 minutes whether or not you walk on the court and the coach knows what you're talking about. I can go to one practice and see probably the level that the coach is at. Okay. So we're starting to get trained up with coaches as far as I'm concerned on the volleyball side. I think, again, for me personally, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I see myself cycling out in the next few years away from coaching players and just coaching coaches, because I think that's one of the bigger needs is we make better players. We'll get more players playing. The next slide is, how do we fix these issues? This is my way of breaking the tension. I was watching Field of Dreams when I was making this slide up the first time, so I'm like, all right, I'll throw that in there. It works. And I misquoted it slightly, so if anybody comes hunt me down for royalties, I don't have to pay them. So we need a spot. I coached down at Maryland Juniors years and years ago when they were just working out of the high schools in HOCO. I remember when Sean got that facility, literally, he was able to expand the next day. And Maryland Juniors is really smartly built. He owns the facility, but he also owns the club. The club exists separate from the facility. So realistically, he rents his own club space at his gym. So everything's vertically integrated. And I think that's really smart. Do I necessarily want to run a club? Not so much, especially at this stage of my life. I'd rather get a facility up and running, and then maybe we figure that out from there. I've run a club for 5 years. It's fun, but it's also maddening. It's a 6-month sprint. Everyone knows the tryouts are a nightmare. Again, facility, maybe we could get everyone under one roof for tryouts and not have to go to 7 different venues to have players try out. So next slide. So the only way I could figure out to make this work would be to have an investment group to give some initial funds. I'm a federal employee. If you want to go look what my salary is, I'll tell you what the band is. I'm a GS-13. Go ahead and look online right now. You can figure out about what I make. It's not enough to fund the facility. So between getting some initial monies together with investors, then going after an SBA loan, which I knew nothing about 6 months ago, and then I got hooked up with some of the folks over at Harco, and they basically opened my eyes to how much you really need to bring to a table for SBA loan. You really need 20% of the total amount. You've heard all this before anyway. So basically if we can get 20% of the funds we need, I can go ahead and finance the rest. The nice thing about the SBA loan, it's a 25-year loan. So I can spread those payments out for a long time. So you take that, you take initial investor group, you take me willing to take out a giant loan and put my name on it, which is terrifying but scary and fun. And then you take I've got 20 years. I got 30 years on the court, 20 years as a coach. I worked down at Volleyball House back when it was open back in the day. Seeing the ins and outs of a facility, a lot of it's a lot of scheduling work. But the biggest thing about a facility is you can't really have, I'll get to this in a minute. If you make it small, you can make it a training facility. But then realistically, you're just coaching clinics and stuff to pay the rent. I can't live on that. And to be honest, I don't really want to spend 6 nights a week in the gym away from my family. Just so I can pay the rent every year and maybe net out $2,000. That's kind of not my life. I'm almost 50. So you got to go bigger to try and bring tournaments in. We've all been the Spooky Nook. We're not going to be Spooky Nook. Not going to be St. James. We will be somewhere between St. James and Maryland Juniors. That leaves a lot of room to work. For now. Anyway, so next slide. So like I said, 15 to 20% is what I need from the investment community. We'll leverage that for the rest in an SBA loan, and we'll take all the combined knowledge of youth volleyball that we have on the volleyball side to get that done. Next slide. Again, bigger's better. We've all been to the one net tournaments or like the two net tournaments where it's a single day. It's 8 teams. It's a sprint. No one's traveling far for that. Like we drive an hour and a half for an 8-team tournament. I'm kind of going, why are we playing this? It's not a good or bad thing. It's just because you get a limited, say for like, say a travel team, I'll use diamonds over intensity, for example. They're not going to an 8-team tournament because the competition isn't there. They could go and beat up on people all day and feel great about themselves, but they're not getting any better. So they almost need to be looking for the bigger ones. Bigger tournaments lead to better competition. And the 32 team, 32 or 64 teams is kind of the sweet spot for like playoffs day 2. So you have the brackets worked out right. So it's efficient and it's optimized. So you don't have to pay refs forever for these weird brackets that are off in the middle of nowhere. And you can divide that into 2 divisions for an age group. I would feel fully comfortable taking 32 teams or even a 16-team pool for an age group. Say you have 13, you could do for a 32-team pool, you could do 2 16 brackets of like open and club. That's 4 nets. That's not a bad little tournament. Again, we're not spooking up. We're not running the 50 net tournaments. That's not happening. But with the place we're looking at, it would be 8 courts, which would be 64 teams a weekend for a multi-day. I think that's a reasonable size. If you want to make one big tournament, you can, but you can split it into 2 age groups as well and get two so say like 13s and 14s open and club with 16 teams in each division. And that works out to be a pretty decent sized tournament. Also, there are revenue streams with multi-day tournaments you don't get with single days. Everyone hates state of play. But the tournament directors get an extra $10 a room, $20 a room off of that. Am I saying that's a good thing or a bad thing? As a coach and a future parent, I hate it. As a potential business owner, I love it.
Local teams, we would. I don't care.
Yeah. That's the other really great thing too. Our local teams, if they wanted to travel, they could, but if they still want to play local tournament, we only get 2 or 3 tournaments in an age group around here and not have to drive 2 hours. Like we've all tried to get players up. Well, I haven't. You all try to get players up at 5 a.m. to go to a tournament. How fun is that? So we got to be on the court at 7, so we got to be up at 6:30. Okay, that is a lot nicer than we got to be up at 5. Drive all the way up to, again, say Spooky Nook or St. James or whatever. So bigger's better to a certain degree. The only problem with that is that went back for some reason. Oh, it didn't update there. Did it get stuck? It went here, it just didn't go there. Anyway, I'll speak to it. So the things with a bigger facility, you might have more downtime. Volleyball is only 26 weeks during the year. You got to make money the rest of the year too. However, the tournament revenue is pretty nice. If you wanted to do some back of the envelope math, say we filled every court, every tournament, which would never happen, you'd have $700 is about what you pay for a 2-day tournament, plus or minus. $700 times 64 teams times 25 weeks. It's like over $1 million in revenue just from the tournaments. So you will have time that you will not have tournaments running, even though you're a big profit maker. So that's where we'd be partnering with other groups. Basketball, possibly some other indoor sports. Lacrosse seems to always want space to just go in. Like they're over at Grace, they run us out of there sometimes. Indoor soccer, you can put up temporary walls. Anybody wants to watch Pet Soccer? We've actually watched that at home. I like that show. But so you have to fill the space with other centers for revenue. I know for me, I can fill 2 to 4 clinics probably a week, 2 to 4 courts of clinics during the week. As we have a bigger and nicer facility, we can draw from a wider swath of folks. The location we have is right off 95. So we can pull people from realistically Philly all the way down to Baltimore. That's within easy driving distance. If I don't have to work a day job, summertime clinics, drop your kid off at 7 a.m., come pick them back up at 5:30. They will be tired when you pick them up. And I don't want to say that it's a babysitting service, but we're teaching them volleyball. They're getting reps and they're getting better, but it's in a contained environment. other events. Like I've always wanted to do a New Year's lock-in where like parents, you want to go have a good night to yourself, drop the kids off at 7, come back at 5 in the morning. Well, not 5 in the morning, come back at 7 in the morning. Come back, we'll feed them, they'll be safe, we'll lock the doors, we'll have adults there on staff, that sort of thing. There's also adult tournaments. The nice thing is that this place will be, it's air conditioned. So that's nice during the summertime. I've spent a lot of time in horribly hot, stinky warehouses in the middle of summer, sweating my butt off, which is fine if I really love the game. But I have heard a teenager or two complain about heat in a gym. It's too hot in here. We will keep it at 71 degrees all the time. And then on the other side of it too, you've got concessions. You've got the $75 hoodies that everyone's going to buy. I'm still fleshing out the numbers on that. That's revenue I haven't even taken. I've taken into account, but I still think I'm being way conservative with my numbers. So again, you need to generate revenue year round. So these are based off numbers that I recalculated these this morning. It takes about 80K to put a court together. Again, that's sport court. That's not like TerraFlex. That's just sport court, a net, and netting around it. The one thing we will have in this place is netting around the courts, so you're not constantly seeing balls flying across from court to court. That drives me nuts as a coach. It drives players nuts.
Really, so no, we're not screaming at the top of our lungs.
Yeah. Yeah, Logan's heard it. So it ends up being about 30K for the court itself, and then the square footage just for the year on year is about 50K. That's just sunk cost you're paying that in rent. But you can generate over 150K per court, and that's just with kind of clinics and tournaments and club rentals. That's in there too. Only like 26 weeks out of the year. We've only programmed 26 weeks out of the entire year already. And based on my numbers right now, between tournaments, some advertising revenue, camps, clinics, club fees, you only need to fill about 51% of everything to basically break even. Be a little bit profitable. You get to 75%, things are looking really good. Do I think we would ever get to 100%? No way. We're not going to fill every hour of every day. That would never happen. Touching back on the revenue streams, there's also pickleball during the day. And if any of you work for Arena Club, I'm sorry. I'd love to take some of their business. They want to do pickleball, fine. We'll take some of that market share. And again, our staff will be in there working anyway. You have someone working the front desk. That's just icing on the cake. And again, maybe you run pickleball tournaments during the summer when it's hot out. People don't want to be out at noon trying to play pickleball down at Youth Benefit. The other profit streams is putting in a training area for weightlifting and things. Everyone, I'm sure a bunch of you know the SNAP program we were running. Going to start that back up hopefully, but this would give us a dedicated spot. We can just do it there, one-stop shop. The other side of it is also, I lost it. What other revenue stream I had in my head? Social media. I would love to do like instructional videos. You throw them up on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I'd love to do this. But if I'm paying $70 for a court and I gotta, like it say at Grace, I gotta pay $70 for the court, then I gotta film it myself, and then I gotta go edit it. If I've got a spot, I just like, well, I had an idea for a video. I'll go out on court 4, go film it today, and have it up that afternoon. I also had the idea, which I think the girls didn't hate when I mentioned it to them, just have a TikTok room. Go make TikToks. But the TikToks are not going to be under their accounts. They're going to be on the MCA accounts after we go ahead and vet them and make sure there's nothing horrible that they're doing on them. Post them, and then that's our revenue stream. You can tag yourself. That's great. But we'll use that as another revenue stream. Probably the biggest end-all be-all from sort of the volleyball and youth sports mindset is that if we can find ways to lower entry fees and costs for players to play, it gets more kids on the court. Across sports, across any sport, if we can get more kids on the court in any sport, it's a win. And that's me talking as more of the coach as opposed to the businessman. Those hats kind of going interchangeably right now. Advertising is probably the last big one. That's a huge one in my mind. First year probably would be kind of lean. Second year is like, here's the number of people we had come through last year. Every weekend we had 600 families come through for 20 weeks plus all the other stuff. at some point, advertisers will take notice. Would you like to run it? Would you like to sponsor a court during club season? Here's how much it costs. Would you like to sponsor our hoodies? Here's how much it costs. All the way up from large corporate sponsors to, Tempo Brothers. You want to give out flyers. You want to be on the tournament flyer. Okay, here's a fee. People will go eat at your restaurant while they're here in town visiting. Feel free to add in if you think of anything I've forgotten. Next slide. Kind of just a rehash of what I kind of went through. A little bit of a breakdown on the bottom left of how much for tournament revenue, how to break down. Most of it's registration fees. The dreaded entry fees of either parking or spectator fees. Now, I'll say this. There's a club out in Sacramento. It's called Beta Bay. They run a lot of tournaments. They're a bigger club. I hate spectator fees. But they made up a really good point when I was watching one of their Instagram reels. They said, if you have spectator fees, it keeps people out who may not belong there. If like someone's like, oh, I heard there's a volleyball tournament, we're going to hang out, watch out. Well, it's $15. Okay, I'm not interested in calling in now. It keeps people out. It keeps the wrong element out, but keeps the right element in. Club revenue, well, that's sunk down. Club revenue across the board for the facility itself isn't that much. It's only like 10% of like what I'm looking at revenue stream. Club rentals are not much. I know courts are expensive, and I would like to bring that cost down for the club, so hopefully that filters down to families, but that's not a big revenue stream. I also think, I don't know if this is pie in the sky stuff. I was thinking, if I was a player, I'd rather not take my gear with me. I'd rather just leave it at the facility, and you don't stink up your parents' car. Throw your shoes, throw your gear in a locker if you want. You can rent them if you want. I mean, that's a very low cost thing for us to implement if players wanted to do that. Never forget your knee pads again. And if they stink, mom and dad, you don't have to smell it in the trunk of your car. Or you don't have to do the dreaded opening the bag and not knowing what is growing in there. They leave it at the place. There's these knee pads are green. And then, so say for club use, we would have like, I was almost thinking like cages or storage areas for them to store their gear, because we're not providing that. That's a club expense. But you want to store it there, and you don't want to haul balls in your car. When I coached for Maryland Juniors, I had to haul my balls in my cart in my car for 6 months out of the year, and I hated every living second of it. I'm like, I can't put anything in my trunk. It's full of balls and carts. So part of the rental agreement will be you can have storage, but that's going to be an added fee.
Well, one of the things that local clubs have been struggling with is storage at the facilities where they are actually practicing. And when you're sharing space and you're sharing storage space, there's absolutely no respect from other people for your equipment. Equipment gets destroyed, it's costly, and then you can't find what you need. I mean, we're struggling with that now with clubs, so that would be a huge draw, I think.
And if they want to store their stuff there, it's there all the time. They're like, we decided to run a clinic this summer. Okay, great, your stuff's still in there. All your coaches will have the keypad. If your stuff gets messed up, that's on you. Like, you shouldn't have given out the code to someone you didn't want to have it. No more having to take 10 minutes at the beginning of the practice to set up nets. They're up. Staff will put it up. I have 2 ideas on storage space. I have a couple. So when we get to we'll put the floor plan up. I have a few different ideas on storage space. Now it comes down to how much level of funding I have at the beginning. If I can the bare bones, yeah, we put cages in. The kind of more advanced ideas, we put in some mezzanine space and then have storage underneath that. We have the cages. I do have storage space factored in. I just don't have a floor plan set in my mind yet, because I don't know how much capital I'm going to have to work with. Because at the end of the day, the only thing we really need, I'll get you in a second, Logan. The only thing we really need to have in there to go from the space we're looking at right now is bathrooms and courts. That's the bare minimum, which means if we had to, we could be up and running in a month. Just on the volleyball side. Well, they would be up for use. Now, like, so say you want to come in at like midnight at 1 o'clock. No, we're not leaving them up for you. So we would allocate space. So say basketball wants to use some space. We would have that sponsored off. We'd have that cordoned off for basketball. We'd leave a couple courts up. I would love to have an after school program. So say you've got practice at 6. You can come in, we'll do study hall for an hour, get your homework done, and you can get on the court and get some reps in. We could charge for that dead time, but I'm not doing that. I'd rather just have kids on there getting better, as long as everyone signs a properly long waiver. Go out and get some reps in. You get your homework done, go get some reps. Like you said, they'll be up. Am I going to have 8 courts up all the time? Probably not. But there will be a couple courts up.
How many courts do you really need, Logan? You need 8?
Yeah.
He just needs 1.
My goal is to have this. So the nice thing about the setup of the site we're looking at is that there's realistically 3 different lanes in it. I can designate 1 lane for volleyball. We've got 3 courts there. They're running that. Basketball's running in the middle lane. They got 2 courts up. And then maybe field hockey wants to work on the 3rd lane. They have a smaller space. They can go set up their stuff there too. So like in the off time, there will be courts up. It just may not be the whole facility at a given time. And that's really a function of scheduling, which is really the biggest thing. And again, I'm not trying to make a schedule while I'm at lunch at work. It makes life a lot easier. Next slide. Things that I'm really a fan of. I cut my teeth as a player in drop-in play. Friday nights, go play with people you don't know. I hate as a coach, well, I don't play with her all the time, or I don't play with him all. I don't care. Go play with some new people. Go learn a new position. That's a fun time to do it. Also, it helps build a community up both at the youth level and the adult level. Because when I was playing, I would go to the volleyball house. It was a stinky warehouse, but it was 6 courts. And it would be, we would play from 7 o'clock. Sometimes I'd play till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd play for 6-7 hours, and it was $7 to get in. You make up your teams, you go play, and that place was filled every Friday night, and it built a community up. That's when it died. When that place died, was the adult community especially died off. I feel like that can help bolster the youth and adult community. Also, I really want to get away from all the tribalism of clubs. I'm a premier player. I'm an intensity player. I don't go to other these. Go play together on a Friday night. Who cares? Like, well, we need a setter. This is an intensity only. No, quiet. We got a setter. Go play. I think it'll help that as well. And sometimes I know for me, just free play, nothing structured. You don't have a coach barking at you. Go play and have some fun.
As the parent of 3, well, now they're not, but 3 former teenagers, current teenagers, there's nowhere for these kids to go in Hartford County. There's nowhere for them to go hang out on a Friday night or a Saturday night and just go play or go do something. So this could be volleyball. It could be something else. It could be a basketball game. You know, to have someplace safe for them to go where they could just go and hang out would be great.
I mean, the era of the mall is dead. I mean, that's what we all did when we were younger. Right? Go hang out at the mall. Yeah. So, and then open gym and free play. One of the things, my pie in the sky idea, is to have a section of the off area. You buy a couple serving machines. So if players want to go work on their serve receive, they just go over there and they get a friend, feed balls and pass. We'll have some of the net. There'll be a smaller area. You want to go work on your serve? You've got a lane. Just go work on your form on the serve. One thing I've always wanted as a coach is, and it sounds dumb, I've watched like dance moms. So the dancers work in front of a mirror so they could see their form. I've always wanted a space for volleyball players to be like, coach said to do this with my swing, and I have no idea what that looks like. Okay, we'll go do it in front of the mirror a couple times. And if you want to, you have a friend film you, and you can look at it from a couple different directions. I think that would be huge for the volleyball community.
A lot of the kids really like when there's an iPad set up and they can go ahead and see that. Or even, you know, the almost like the speed gun, so they can see how fast they're serving. So we do that, you know, sometimes for high school, and the kids really love that. So it gives a lot of opportunities there for that.
Nick Molyneux needs back in. Can you let him back in?
Sure, Nick.
So you've got that. Camps, clinic, and lessons. Like, so MCA right now, we just do camps and clinics. We do mostly just clinics and private lessons, and we did a couple little camps before tryouts. Last year, we generated $82,000 in revenue. I think I made about 37 cents. Mainly because my theory is I'd rather hire more coaches to come coach the clinics to help everyone get better. Plus, all the other money I earn, I shovel into storage units and cell phones and this amazing tech gear we have, and just volleyballs and stuff. So there is how much did I put in that? Maybe between $7,000 and $10,000 this year. I just reinvested. So I've got a margin of about 10-15% just with what I'm doing now, and I could keep doing that and make some money off it and pay for Christmas. But that's just off of clinics. We're taking a big jump up in kind of the world. And then showcases and special events. This past season at MLK, they were offering showcases for players, for college coaches. I think it was $150 for 2 hours for a bunch of college coaches to come watch it. And all the college coaches do is they get a free room and board, some meals, and they get possibly a pipeline to get some players. That's what they really care about. But the tournament organizers are the ones pocketing the major dollars. Yeah. I would love to do a Hartford County All-Star game or UCBAC. I hate that. Upper Chesapeake All-Star game. Seniors, JV and varsity. Okay, go play that out. At the MCA Performance Center, we will host this and give you uniforms and something to remember and charge some spectator fees and sell some T-shirts. But also, it's something to help the community. And we'll have the space here. So say it's volleyball, basketball, or really any of the court sports, we'll have space. Another parent I was talking to the other night, they were like, well, maybe people would want to come, judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Maybe they need a place to bring mats in. Okay, we've got a big, giant space. We're more than happy to rent you square footage. So that's probably it for that one. Next slide. Not updating again, of course. I'll just read off the slides while she's doing that. So is that the old slide? Oh, I fixed it. So in the past, we were looking at warehouses for like the last 2-3 years. No one rent to us. So then we got this fancy idea to build over at St. James. Put in a letter of intent on that, and they were like, huh? Never heard anything back. I had architects, I had general contractors, I felt like everything ready to go on that. Except my timeline was horrible when I first scheduled it out and realized it was going to take way longer than I originally thought it would. So if that were to worked out, it would have been like 3 years from now before we would have had a place. So after I got disheartened and took a lot of long walks and thought about my life, I decided I'd go back and look at the warehouse thing again. And I found the spot 103 Fulfillment down in Edgewood. Contacted my real estate agent who was working the James Run side of it for me. I said, could you look into this? Crapshoot, see what happens. He goes, yeah, the landlord's amenable. I had contacted this company 3 years ago, and they said, no, they're not interested. Suddenly, I have a real estate broker call them and use his magic, and they were like interested. So they said they would be okay with the use. Now it's a matter of getting through, and we'll go through this later, zoning and those sorts of things. But they're amenable to use. That was the first hurdle because they said no, been dead in the water, but they're okay with it. And worked out. We could show some pictures here in a little bit. We went and looked at the space. It's perfect. Like, we've all been at those tournaments where there's no space to walk through between courts. This has 50 feet from pillar to pillar. 52 feet, really. So there's plenty of space to put a court in. A court's 30 feet wide. So we got 10, 12 feet to work with on each side. Well, 11 feet on each side. So that gives us room for tournament desk. Scorekeeping table, people to walk in and out. No one's tripping over bags. Someone spills something, it's not going directly on the court. So we fixed that. Also, I don't have to try and figure out commercial real estate development anymore. The place is already built. That was not a fun process to learn about, and everything I learned, I realized that's not a world I want to live in. However, we do have experience. I have experience working in a facility. We have experience in the entire volleyball market. We know the space. Is there a risk that the clubs won't take up residents? Yeah, that's definitely a risk. If they like to keep paying more money for lesser facilities, sure, they can have at it. After I finish with the team I'm coaching right now, that might mean that maybe a new club gets formed. Who knows? Could go down that route. I don't really want to do that, but if we have to fill space, we have to fill space. I don't know why the clubs won't want to jump on a better space for less money. If they don't, I think it's kind of silly, but I'm not going to speak for them.
Or they can actually practice their serve. So there are clubs in this county that are practicing with literally this much serving space. So, yeah, on one side, and then the other side is this, and then there's other ones that are literally this. How do they practice their jump serve? How are we, we're missing serves in tournaments. It's a hard thing to argue with them when we don't actually get to practice them in the gym where there's actually serving space. Important part of the game.
Can you look and see? Ratty Dwalaby is trying to get in. Said she can't get in. You might need to pull the link down and email her. So what if teams don't want to come play? Okay, tournaments are kind of a gamble, but I can tell you this: Irish Rumble was filling up in September last year. I was booking tournaments for Intensity in July. Like I use the story. Christine called me one morning and goes, "Did you break the club credit card last night?" I'm like, "Yeah." I spent 25 grand in about 2 hours just on tournaments just for the club, just to get us in to make sure we had spots. That has become more the norm because the club volleyball world is going to an earlier tryout mindset with USAV. They're doing tryouts in July in some places. So as soon as they have those teams figured out, they're locking tournaments in right then and there. The other nice thing is that's early revenue. So you're putting that money on the books early. You may have to give refunds and things like that, but you're getting that revenue stream earlier and earlier in the year, which is nice. Also, there's not much advertising that has to go into tournaments. Like nobody sends flyers anymore. Come play at our tournament. I go on AES. I have this team that can play this weekend. They want a 2-day within 150 miles. Boom, I can find it in about 3 minutes. And there's no like, well, no, I won't say that. There's some tournaments we avoid. I avoid as a club scheduler. I'm like, we are not playing at that place. But overall, we're going to go play at this place because it meets the criteria for that team and that coach, what they want to do. So there's not a whole lot of advertising budget needed on that front. It kind of does itself. What's the last one? I can't even read. I made it too low on the slide. Oh, well, don't worry about it.
Can you guarantee our investment?
No, I cannot guarantee investment. As an investment, you may lose money. Yeah, I put that. Yeah. I can say it was on. Oh, y'all didn't read the top 3/4 of a letter. No, it's an investment. If I could guarantee things, I would, but that's not the way it works. Competition. No. Our next competition is Maryland Juniors. I'm not really sure how much competition that is. They have what, 11 courts and a smoothie bar and a Chinese place.
Chinese food.
And 3 stalls in the bathroom. I think we can do better than that. There's one of the unique things about this that I like having our own space and be able to run tournaments every weekend. You got the tournament directors who are renting out space at, say, a convention center. That's not cheap. And you got to go there, and there's nothing week to week that's the same. Like, I like the idea if we have our own space. The way I was envisioning it is, say you have a 24-week tournament season. You put it in 3 tournament week blocks. 13s, 14s one weekend, 15s, 16s the next weekend, and 17s, 18s the next weekend. So clubs can kind of predictably know in another 6 weeks, there will be another 16s, 17s tournament that we can go register for at this place. It's well run. It's a nice venue. Their hoodies are reasonably priced. The food is, they have acai bowls, so the girls are happy.
Have you looked at the streaming services?
So I just got off I had a meeting last week with Huddle. No, so last week I had a meeting with Huddle, for video services. This is the coach in me talking. I would love this. We can probably mount some of their bigger it's called the Huddle Focus, but basically it's the thing that'll follow the ball. Like it's not just like ball. It's not like Baller TV where you see pixel 1 on your side of the net dive, bounce white pixel back over the net, and then someone on the other side you can't see did something. So my goal would be to have 1 camera on the sideline, 2 cameras in the corner, and then as a coach, I've always wanted a camera up above. So I could see multi degrees of the court all at the same time. The price point on that is, in my opinion, ridiculously cheap. For what I want to do, you can outfit every court for $4,000 a year with just these cameras. That's nothing. Now that's storage space. So again, on the revenue stream, Huddle has a profit sharing with them. So they have a platform for people to log in and watch the streaming. We charge for it, it's 60-40. So we keep 60, they keep 40. Well, I have a way around that because it's never good to put a system in place in front of me because I'll find a way around it. What we would do is we'd probably just bake in an extra $50 into the registration fee, tell the clubs that we will you have free streaming service for all your families. Here's the login information. But if you want the video downloaded, we'll charge a small fee for that on the back end. But then if I'm a club and I can tell the parents, you don't ever have to pay to stream this. If like you're on travel for work or something, you just log in. Here's the login, go watch it.
No more Facebook streaming.
Like,
No more tripods.
No more I honestly would probably ban tripods. I'd be like, no more. We will give you, if you really want the video that bad, we'll find a way to get it for you. Huddle's really nice because then they can go and make the clips for college coaches. So that helps them on the recruiting train too. So you figure for each court, say you're charging $50 a team on top of the tournament fees. So it's $200 a week. Well, no, really $400 a week. When you do 8 teams, it's paid for itself in 10 tournaments. And then you've got it, that's for the whole year. So then clubs want to go in and say, hey, we'd like to have a package where we can record 30 hours of practice. Okay, fine. Well, here's a fee for that. I don't want to get gougy with it, but it's definitely ways that we can improve the game while also adding a revenue stream. And the cameras are much higher quality, like I said, rather than like Baller TV or iPhone 4 that someone doesn't care if it gets destroyed on the back end. Or anyone ever seen an iPad get hit by a ball? How's it end? Yeah. I mean, I had players back in the day who would aim for them, but that's because they were jerks during warmups. But so back on task, there's no venue that runs week to week. Do I think we would fill up every week? No, but if we get over 75 to 80%, we're in a good spot. And honestly, the less teams you have, the less refs you have to hire. So it kind of scales that price wise there. Plus also doing 2-day tournaments, you're out of there by 5, 6 o'clock on a Sunday for a 2-day, which then, so say we want to have practices that night, or we want to rent the courts out that night for a group, we can, that'll be available. I already started talking to local officials and lenders. I'm actually going to a Schmooze Fest next Tuesday. My real estate agent, they're having a big thing. There's definitely going to be several members from the zoning board there who I'll just happy to get an introduction to. Talk to economic development. I don't know if they were intrigued or I angered them this past summer. I sat there and talked to them. I'm like, you all have really done a disservice to youth sports in this county, other than putting in another field. I was like, the county has 4 million fields, and anybody wants to go kick a soccer ball around, they can. If I want to go work on my indoor game, I got to get permits and licenses and insurance. And luckily the director goes, she goes, no, you're absolutely right. I'm like, thank God I didn't just shoot myself in the foot with that. Keep my mouth shut. I've already talked to Harco about being the SBA lender. They've got a $200,000 small business loan that is pretty, they said it's like 3 points below prime or something like that. It's ridiculously low. So I'd probably make a run at that too on top for extra capital. And we've already got a site we're working on leasing. Really, the big 3 hurdles I have right now is enough capital get started, getting through zoning, and getting the landlord to sign a actual contract lease. Because they, like right now, they're a little bit concerned, like, oh, you're a new business, show us your books. I have $6,000 in the MCA account. That's not like, oh, great, you can rent the bathrooms for a month. So that's where once I get enough capital, then I can go ahead and get the line of credit from the bank. Then I can go show the landlord we're viable financially. That domino falls pretty quick. And then getting through zoning. If zoning says no, then we're dead in the water. But I got a pretty good feeling about that too, because again, my real estate agent made a call. He goes, yeah, I got a client here who wants to do this, this, and this. What do you think? He goes, okay. All right, thanks. He hangs up. He goes, yeah, that would probably go pretty quick. You'd probably be okay. So I was like, it's Harford County. It's kind of small. Like we had a meeting.
Everybody knows everybody.
We discovered that yesterday at the meeting we had at the zoning office. So we're working that side. So next slide. The good, the bad. Well, it should be the bad first. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, so the ugly. Yeah, the ugly. So it's going to be expensive. This will update eventually. The lease on the property is about $500K a year. That I'll be personally responsible for. Yeah, that's going to be fun. If my wife doesn't divorce me, we should be okay. The build out is anywhere between 300 and 700,000 based on how nice we want to make it. And again, there's the bare minimum of like 300K will get us the doors opened. And then maybe it's a phased approach. You know, we bring in some revenue, that revenue will let us expand more, that sort of thing. Minimum is 300, well, 280, up to 780. The most glamorous facility I've built on paper is around 800K to build out. And the one condition of the lease would be that anything permanent would be owned by the landlord. So the goal is to do everything as not quite as permanent as possible. So I found mezzanines that are not permanently attached to the structure. So if we decide to move to someplace else, we can take them with us. Bathrooms, modular. I want to do everything modular so we can take it in and take it out if we want to. Sport court. Say we decide we're doing really well, and we want to move to Terraflex. Okay, we'll pull the sport court out. We'll go sell it. Get a return on our investment there. So in my mind, the minimum capital I need right now is 250K in investor funds. That would allow me to leverage another 750 from the bank, which gets us plenty for operating capital. Because I don't want to go into this saying, well, I got to pay everyone next week and we've got $12,000 in the bank. Like, that's terrifying to me. I want to make sure that we have plenty of capital to work for almost an entire year without, if we didn't make a dime, we would be okay, but that wouldn't happen. So I guess the SBA loan, the zoning exception, they're saying 90 to 150 days. I have no control over that. Build out, realistically, we get courts delivered. We got to drill some holes in the concrete, throw down the sport court. Like, you've seen it, like the big tournaments, they put those together in a day. Mind you, they have Teamsters working for them, so they probably work faster than I would. But so we'd have to do some plumbing for the bathrooms. That's realistically the biggest stuff. And again, that's permits with the county and then just getting that done. So there's the 3 big bullet points at the end. We could be up and running by the fall. And again, this is the most amazing part of it, is that we're not going to build. We realistically could be open by the fall. August, maybe the earliest, September, October by the latest. Get capital from investor funds, hardco zoning, and then the lease. Those are the 3 big wickets that are left. And then kind of what's in it for the county. The revenue, the hotel revenue the county would make has to be attractive to them. I mean, you're filling, say you've got 64 teams a weekend. You have only half of those book rooms. You have 32 teams and maybe 6 rooms a piece minimum, probably more like 10. You're filling up hotels. The space is down towards the 24 gate, like you're going to the Edgewood area of Aberdeen Proving Ground. It's 6 minutes, I think, is what Google said, to the hotels up towards Abingdon, like just off Edgewood Road. Hampton Inn, Holiday Inn Express. And if you want to go to Bell Camp, you can go to Bell Camp. So that's close. Plus, there's all those eateries in Abingdon. Like, I would honestly ask Baco to give me free pizza for life. So I would be like, listen, I ate a lot of your pizza. I want it for free from now on. You're welcome for all the business. So probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet was probably one of the biggest ones in my mind. I go back to 2 years ago when Apex lost their court space at Arena Club. Within weeks, they were out of business. And just speaking as an intensity coach, we lose Highlands, we're out 8 teams, gone. Like, they don't come back. There's nowhere to put them. So this would take that specter from hanging over all the clubs' heads of where do we have space? I mean, talking to Chris with basketball, there's no space. You got basketball, fighting volleyball for a limited amount of space, and that just means that they can just run the rents up higher and higher and higher. We don't have anywhere. At some point, it becomes untenable. I don't think we're there yet, but why let them get to that point? And I started coaching in HOCO, Howard County. No offense to Hartford County volleyball. This was 15 years ago. And Danielle Sermi says, we saw a Hartford County team come and be like, oh, it's cute. Oh, Bel Air. Huh. Let's show you how this really goes.
If
but
you've been to the state championship, you see what those teams are like, because they have space and they are able to do this.
So years and years ago, Centennial was the biggest, baddest high school on the planet in Maryland. They won 14 state championships. Reason being, they had a club program that nobody else did. Then that's because Columbia Volleyball Club was open. It was run by the head coach at Centennial. Well, then Maryland Junior's open, and then you got South River, and then you've got Bobbi, you've got Baltimore Elite. So then everyone kind of caught up, and the county got better as it went on. My idea of this is that if we can make everyone better, then everyone gets better. Steel sharpens steel. We've seen a huge uptick in teams. So usually it's been the big four: Bel Air, Patterson Mill, C. Milton Wright, and Falston has been like the big predominant schools. Edgewood's got some pretty solid talent now. We're seeing some really good players, and again, I'm focusing on the girls' game because I just know that better. We're seeing players over North Hartford. They were awful 2 years ago, but they've got a lot of really good players coming up. They're getting better. Tech's getting better. Haverty Grace, I saw some amazing things at Haverty Grace, talent-wise. We get more kids on the court, everyone gets better. And then we make this area like I was dreaming one night. I'm like, Volley Town, welcome to the tournament from all down Bel Air on the placards, and like at Christmas time, like welcome to Volleyball Town. I daydream a fair bit. Yeah. Yeah, Muddy Creek. But then, so the nice thing about this building too is that we're only going to have a third of it. So maybe the other lessee, that's all right. The other folks in the building, maybe they don't want it their lease, and we take over that part of it too down the line. Maybe we get enough of a war chest. We just say, hey, would you like to sell us the building? And then we put more basketball courts in, more turf in for inside sports. We will not ever be Spooky Nook. But maybe we you know what? We'll dig down. We'll put hockey rinks underground. But yeah. So that's kind of the biggest song and dance from this. Any questions based on what I just showed? Anybody online have any questions? See if we have a. Sure.
Go stand over there. So
I'll stand over here.
So, for the investors, things go south with zoning. Things fall through with, the lease,
Sure.
the contract. What happens?
So, that brings me to the investment vehicle. Can you bring that slide up? It should be in. It's in the folder. Yeah. Go to. Yeah. So the investment vehicle I've got to use, and I'll run through this real quick because it's a little bit confusing, but it's also not. So Muddy Creek Athletics is a close corp, which means I can't have investors because I was really stupid when I built the company and organized it. I didn't plan on this becoming anything more than me just doing a few lessons every week. So I kept it a close corp, so I can only have like 5 people in it. It's meant to be like a family thing. So it was meant to be like a family thing. So I have to find some way of getting investors to put money into the company. So I stood it up. It just finished up earlier this month. Muddy Creek Investments. I know, shocking. Like really, I really worked really hard to find names. But so what that's going to do is it's going to be a way. It's already organized as an S-Corp. So that can basically make a loan to Muddy Creek Athletics, a promissory note. But what Muddy Creek Investments will get is full control on a third company called Muddy Creek Operations. The operations is what's going to run the facility. Investments will go ahead and get any profit that comes out of that will go straight to Muddy Creek Investments, which is then what we'll pay investors out of. Investors are going to get preferred shares. That's what we're selling for the investment company. That means that dividends for them get paid first ahead of any other dividends. The other thing that means is that, so say we sell 100,000 shares for $1. And I have a clause in there that if we don't get the lease or anything in 6 months, get your money back. Done. Like if it falls through, I don't want to hold on to your money and owe you 10 cents on the share in a year and have no way to pay that. So if we don't have anything in 6 months, get your money back. And honestly, we could do that sooner. We're going to know in probably 3 months. So we'd hold on to your money for about 3 months, 4 months, till we had a clear future. If it didn't work out, just get your money back. I would probably, don't take this the wrong way, but I'd probably keep the interest that we accrued off it because I got to pay lawyers and that kind of stuff. I'd use that to pay some of the just fees and doing business stuff. Because we got to pay fees for zoning and that sort of stuff. So 6 months, don't have anything, get your money back. Again, I think 6 months is too far, but I wanted to give myself plenty of time in there. Now, if after that 6 months, we have a clear future, we got the lease signed, we got past zoning, all the things are pointing towards the future. Every 5 years, well, every year for 5 years, you would get 10 cents on the share. So the first set of shares are going to go for $1. So you basically get 10% return each year. Or a free turtle. Get a free snapping turtle or your money back. You make a choice. So you get 10 cents on the dollar every year for 5 years. After those 5 years, and I'll go into the callable portion of it, those shares would just convert over to common shares in the Muddy Creek Investments, again, which would still be drawing profits from the operations company and paying dividends out to the common share pool. So now, during that 5 years, we could also call the shares back for 125% of what we paid for them. So say you paid $1 for the share, we could call them back and pay you 25 cents on the share right then and there. So say end of year one, we decide we want to buy some of our shares back. We just go, hey, we want to buy back your shares, 25 cents, in addition to the 10 cents you got for the dividend for the year. So you, in essence, at the end of the year, make 35% on your money, which I think is pretty nice return. If you feel like you need to say at year 4, you're saying, listen, well, I got to put kids through college. I need my money back. Okay, fine, we'll buy them back. Like the fact that this investment is mainly through kind of the community that we know, it's not going to be, well, no, we're not going to buy your shares back. Sit on them. You're stuck. Wait for 5 years. See if you can sell them on the open market later on. And we'll buy them back. Again, based on the revenues I'm seeing, that shouldn't be a problem. What's the other part? Again, so they go, after 5 years, they're convertible to common shares at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you get 1 share of common shares for every share of preferred shares you had. The reason I set it up this way is because if you want a short-term investment, we can probably do that. If you want a longer-term investment, you can stay in longer and just go and ride the wave. Do I see us stopping with just this facility? Probably not. There's another warehouse I like in Aberdeen right now that, like, this would be a nice place too for a smaller, like, turf area, or some outdoor courts. So if people want to stay in longer, they can stay in longer. They don't have to. We can buy the shares back later. The other part is I'm not releasing enough shares that I would lose controlling interest in investments. So I could still run things day to day, but there's still plenty of room in there that say I did have a big investor. Say, I don't know, we'll say Coppermine. Say Coppermine's like, we want in on this. We'd like to buy 1 million shares of the company. Okay, well, here's the price. It's not going to be what you all paid in 2 years. So we may be pulling money from them as an investor as well down the line, but not pay them the same amount. So basically the way the cash flow works over on the right. So operations runs a facility. They collect all the rents. They pay the staff. They worry about this, that, and the other thing, basically the day-to-day. Operations would pay Muddy Creek Athletics. Like Muddy Creek Athletics is holding the lease on the place. So they would basically pay athletics to then pay the lease, pay the operating expenses, plus probably a little bit on top, just so athletics could have a little bit extra money to work with. Everything that's left over goes to the investment group. And then that gets paid out to preferred shareholders first, then whatever's left over goes to common. Now in 5 years, all the preferred shareholders will be washed out. So everyone who's left over will still be common. So everyone will be basically moving from one kind of section of stock to the other. And again, our revenues in 5 years will be much higher than they are. So do I think 10 cents a year is reasonable 5 years down the line? Maybe, I think so. But it'll be on us to hustle and run revenues up. Excuse me. Yes, Bobbi. Bobbi needs an ROI breakdown. So Bobbi, for you, at the end of the day, if you hold it for 5 years and say on the last day of 5 years, we call your shares back, you'd make 75 cents on the dollar. Now that's for the first tranche of shares. First tranche of shares are $1 a piece. Do I think we're going to sell 500,000 shares? Not a chance. But I wanted to, you shoot for the moon, you end up in the stars, or shoot for the stars, land on the moon. I never get that right. But then say after we get past, say we sell 500,000 shares, the next set will go for $1.50. Little less return, but by then you probably feel the business is a little more stable at that point, and I can leave those shares open as long as I want. So you'll be making only 10 cents, well, 7.5 cents on the dollar, but that's still 7.5% a year. Still isn't that bad of a return. Plus the 25% on the callable at the end if you want. If not, you stay in it longer and you keep collecting dividends year on year. I had a consultant that I talked with earlier in the summer. He brought up the concept. He goes, well, you build this thing up, then some other company wants to come buy it from you. You cash out. We all cash out, and everyone's happy. I go, I'm not doing that. I go, this is going to be retirement probably till I can't walk anymore, which may be 3 or 4 years from now, the way my knees are going. But this is long term. I'm not planning on going anywhere on this. Now, the bad stuff. Say the company goes belly up. Say we're stuck and we're dead in the water. Preferred shares get paid off as best we can with whatever we have. Sell the equipment, that kind of stuff. Everyone would get their money back first before. Again, my shares for me would be in the common, so I get nothing out of it. I'd have the debt, which would be fun. You all would have as much money as we could get out of it for the preferred shares. And whatever t-shirts. You have whatever t-shirts you want. Honestly, all investors can have a free t-shirt every time. We'll put that in there. With a certain investment amount, Logan. Yeah. Preferred investors will basically be, it's a fancy way of saying a bond. Fancy way of saying I'm putting a loan. You're giving me a loan, but you have the opportunity to convert it to a long-term investment in equity in the company as well. It was the most reasonable vehicle I could find that could let everyone kind of mitigate their risk, still have a way out if they wanted it, but also could stay in longer term if they wanted to. And I read way more investment stuff than I ever want to read again on how to organize this. Now, the second box in the middle area, I would still have 500,000 preferred shares down the line if I want to sell those. So like 3 years from now, Coppermine says, we would like to buy it. Okay, well, they are $10 a share now. You still want them? Okay. I'd be happy to sell those to them if it gave us a cash infusion and we could open up something else. I was down at the ocean this last week, and I was like, what would be nice? That Marty Creek Investments could eventually buy a couple condos down here, so when there's tournaments, families could go use them. I could go on vacation for free. Perk of the president of the company, that sort of thing. Staff. But no, I see the investment company as being, this is like the first avenue for using these funds. And then if we can go through and do bigger and better things later on, fine. That's great too. Because again, I'll go back to Coppermine. I keep using them as an example. Like they started in just a building down in Baltimore County. And I think what happened was, I think either the father retired and for some reason the son took over, and he's like, well, I see this parcel that's cheap. I see this parcel that's cheap that is poorly run. I'll buy an ice rink. I don't want to buy Ice World. But so that's kind of the investment vehicle. If that makes sense to everyone. If anyone needs me to go over it, I can go over it as best I can. I've learned this on the fly. So if you have a question that I can't answer, I would love to know that, so then I can go find the answer for it. But all this seems to make sense based on every direction I've run it. So that's that. Let's go to the was it 7 o'clock? Let's go to the floor plan. And again, just stop me if you have questions on anything. Yeah, basic floor plan. Not right now. Nope. I don't plan on selling common shares unless I absolutely had to. In my mind, I want to keep this correction. I may do that for staff. I may have that like part of the compensation package. Maybe they get a share of the common shares, but I don't want to dilute those shares. So when that transitions over to common shares, I'm not going to dilute those. Whatever's in that bank is going to stay in that bank. That's going to be it. No, I don't want to go that route, because then it becomes a whole other issue with like sales and transfers and legalities. I don't want to. I'd rather stay away from any of that if I can.
Audio keeps going in and out. Talk louder.
Does anybody want me to use my court voice? I can. I'm sure some of you heard me about 4 courts over at a tournament. So this is the space. It's 49,290 square feet, plus or minus. On this picture, the bottom left is where the office space will be. You can't see that here. Those of you at home, you'll have to imagine what this looks like. You'll see it on the next slide. So the office space is down here. Oh, we got to repeat questions. Sorry, Bobby. Yep. So go to the next slide. Not. There we go. So this was the lane concept I was talking about. So up top here in lane 1, that realistically can hold 3 volleyball courts or 2 basketball courts. Lane 2 can do the same, and lane 3 can hold 2 volleyball courts or 1 basketball court. So if we want, so say club X, we'll call it intensity for these purposes. And then club Y, Premier, would like to run programs. They can just rent the whole lane and run their stuff. So I can break it up that way. The nice thing is with these pillar distances is that I also can, with netting setups, I can change the space into different, I don't know, different configurations however I want. So say pickleball only needs like this area. Okay, we can just net that off. You don't have to worry about it. We've got you covered. It makes the space very adaptable. The offices are down here on the bottom left. This is just a rough idea for where bathrooms and concessions would be. There's already plumbing run to the offices. There's actually 4 bathrooms in the offices already. So we want to keep all the plumbing and things down that direction. We don't want to run stuff all the way other end of the building.
The offices are already finished out.
Yeah, everything's finished. It needs a coat of paint. That's it. So my concept here is like I was talking about the mezzanine down on the far end down here. That's where you put the small mezzanines in, so you could get players up and off the floor and get you storage space underneath without losing footprint on the floor. Because let's face it, at tournaments, you want camping space. There's nothing worse than having no space to camp. Down here, you could get players up off the ground. They can go sit in the mezzanines. Family can camp up there. There's plenty of space in here, and you'll see the courts in a second. Actually, bring up the court stand now. Should be the next slide. So this is the court setup. So down the end here, you'd have space for the mezzanines to go in. Along here, you can make. I have a couple ideas. I want to put like a basketball training space over here, possibly a weight room area, like a open weight area. Which again, all this stuff will be in cages. So on tournament day, you lock it up. It's still a place for players to have movement space and camp out and relax if they want to. And then maybe a training court down here for like I was talking about, like the batting cage kind of concept with a serving machine, those kind of lanes. So you have all the concessions and whatnot down here. So you'd have a little section down here to possibly eat, or again, it's more space to put in more courts, a training area in here. The nice thing is that, again, the actual volleyball courts are only the dark green. The light green is space that is for camps, a little extra camp space around the court. Putting in referee stands, putting in scores tables without everyone being on top of each other. And it works out, honestly, dimensions work out perfectly to have ingress and egress throughout, and it's not a problem. On the bottom right here, there's a trailer. So all these are basically trailer hookups for it was a logistics company before, so they were doing loading and unloading. We put a ramp down here on the bottom right. That's tournament day, ingress, egress. We built a little vestibule. So you go in, scan your ticket, go inside. Everyone goes in here and they go out into the building on tournament day. On normal days, like practice days, there's an entrance here on the bottom right that could be used just for office staff. But then there's a separate entrance right here that you could use for players to go in and out just to practices. So you would have to drop off kids back here in the back in a giant dark parking lot at 7:30. You drop them off out front. They go in and out through there. But it keeps them away from the offices, because I don't want, no offense, Logan, I don't want you all running around the offices during the day or in the evenings when we're trying to work. And it puts them right into the courts.
The parking lot is fully lit all the way around.
You want to go back 2 slides. All these trailers, that's parking space. All of this, ever up to the red in the back. That realistically, we think we could do 200 to 250 parking spots just back there. Out front, that's another 100 and 120. So there's plenty of parking there, which is realistically on tournament day the other godsend. So we'd have parking. If this is our main parking lot and we have the ramp sort of right here, that's the ingress, egress, it's easy. I stole that idea from Delaware Juniors. They had a facility years ago up up near the University of Delaware, that's exactly how they did it. I thought it was genius. You can buy a industrial ramp for 15 grand, put it in there. It's semi-permanent. We want to take it with us. It's on. You can put it on a gooseneck and haul it out if you want to. But it gives us a nice ingress egress point for tournament day. So the question was, are clubs going to want to practice side by side? No, I don't think so. But the nice thing is so say intensity goes Monday, Wednesday, Premier goes Tuesday, Thursday. Now, the bigger the club, the more kind of say they're going to have, like, we want Monday, Wednesday nights, and we want 6 courts. Okay, maybe a smaller club or another wants to use court 7 and 8, or maybe basketball wants to use it. We find some other space use for that. I don't anticipate clubs wanting to practice beside each other. Would we maybe have to do a staggered, say Premier can only use, so you've got 4 slots, early, late on Tuesday, Thursday. Maybe Premier can only fill, well, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. Maybe they can only fill all the slots on Tuesday, Thursday, and only the early slots on Monday, Wednesday. Okay, then maybe intensity teams come in late on the Monday, Wednesday slot. As much as clubs may not want to do that, you can still go get your other spaces where there's no court space to practice or serve. That's fine.
Potentially get kicked out by court practice.
Yeah. So. But so, do I want to avoid the mixing and matching? Yeah. But the fact is, we've only got like 2 or 3 big clubs in the area. That makes it easier as far as delineating. And the nice thing is with the netting up, balls probably, like, it's not going to be intensity balls are flying on a Premier court. So we can avoid that if we do get in that situation. Or again, basketball explodes and basketball needs more space, we can source that out too. That's why I like the adaptability of the space, because if we have to, we can break it up by club, by organization, by use. I'll go back to tryouts. It would be really nice if kids say they want to go to an intensity tryout. It's from noon to 2, instead of having to drive from Edgewood Boys and Girls School to Highlands in 10 minutes to get to a tryout. Oh, we're on court 7 for my first tryout. We're on court 8 for my second tryout in an hour. Cool. That makes life a lot easier. Yeah, please. You know what? We have tryout hoodies. Come buy one of our tryout hoodies. So kind of going off that vein for a quick second. Did I answer that?
Yeah, I was just a little confused, like saying, lane 1 and lane 2.
Sure.
So I was just thinking, would be there practicing.
No, I mean, if we really got stuck and they just wanted space, they would have to be somewhat flexible. But if we can schedule it around it, I would be more than happy not to schedule that.
That would be on the staff to work with whoever's renting to work that out.
Now, one thought about tournaments too is we don't want to get a commercial kitchen. We don't want the headaches of food licensing and things like that, permits. I don't want to go down that headache. So our thought process is vending machines for a fair bit of it, drinks. I'd rather do that. It's way easier than having someone standing there selling drinks. Just go get out of the vending machine. But also down here on the far side where the loading docks are, there's space for possibly food trucks and maybe like a heated tent is what I was thinking. And we talked to the county yesterday about that. They said, well, you got to worry about permits and things like that. I'm like, as far as I know, the food truck carry their own food permits. They're a drag and drop. They're responsible for themselves. So this staircase here, I was just thinking you have a heated tent here so you can go out and get your food and then come back in and eat if you wanted to, or have a heated tent along here and the trucks can just pull up. Because I'd rather people not be dragging their food inside the place if we put a few tables out there in the wintertime. I mean, we're gonna be out there in December and January and February. People want to eat out there, have the food truck just pull up. Here's your spot. You get spot A, B, C, and D. Maybe we could have 4 spots there. Do I want to have healthy options for everyone all the time? Yes. Am I so crazy to think that sometimes kids just want chicken tenders? No. Crab pretzels are always great to play on. Crab pasta is a horrible idea to ever play with. I want hot dogs and walking tacos at every tournament. But the interior, we'd probably stick to just a lot of vending stuff.
Well, there's also a possibility too, depending on what the licensing would be and what the health department would approve. for stuff that's been made at other facilities, pre-made, you know, wraps, whatever else that we could then sell on site. It wouldn't necessarily be food prep on site, but there's a possibility of that as well.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck doing that. And plus, it's a huge space claim. I don't want putting it in a kitchen is a huge space claim. It's more plumbing. It's more headaches. I don't want to be Maryland Juniors. You can read it just like that. So that's. Did we show basketball yet? The basketball's there. Again, 5 courts. You could stretch that to probably a couple more half courts on the end if you really wanted to for training purposes. We'd have it sport courted anyway. Chris and I have talked about putting in some hardwood spots into this place. Danielle's a fan of so if we had like a center court for volleyball or basketball, make that a hardwood area. So that would be kind of like, ooh,
Championship court.
18 gold is getting ready to play. Cool, let's go watch that. And everyone huddles around and watches. Seating. So seating right now for players, that's why I like the mezzanine idea. So we get them up and away. For parents, we could put chairs out almost like a big tournament. We have plenty of space to do it. If parents want to bring their chairs in, they could do that too. I've also thought about possibly like the idea of like folding bleachers, but I haven't teased that out enough to know if that would be more viable. If it's a bigger headache to run those than to just have people bring their captain's chairs in, or have chairs that we just fold up and fold down at the beginning of and end of each weekend. Yes, sure. But the goal for this is, so along this side down here, I wish I had it in front of me. Oh, I could probably do the math, 50, 50, 50. So this is 100 feet, 150 feet to here, from this wall to this wall. If I put mezzanines all down there, down 150 feet times 20 feet, that buys me significant extra floor space that I can get players up and away if people want to camp out. And then if we have to have space for chairs or bleachers or storage underneath there, that buys us that space claim. What kind of trailer? So have I thought about a trailer for additional storage? I have spent a significant amount of time looking at shipping containers, repurposed shipping containers. I love the idea of making the inside modular with repurposed shipping containers. You can get them made however you want. I want a bathroom. Cool. I want a locker room. And then we have 32 feet to the ceiling that we can work with. So realistically, I could put 2 10-foot shipping containers on top of each other, build an office space there. Again, that's more added cost. For storage out the back, the nice thing about this ramp is I plan on going down to ATC and having someone show me how to run a forklift. So I learned how to run a short forklift. I go out to the storage container. I got to move stuff in. Cool. It's on a pallet. I bring it on Friday night. We set it up Friday night for the tournament starting on Saturday, or Friday afternoon if we're having a showcase or something like that. The idea, we have plenty of space outside. If we do need to put a container or storage out there, we can.
One of the other things we talked about was camp space, like for volleyball tournaments. That's always a big thing for teams to have camp space. So we also talked about the possibility of doing, if you've ever been to Prevail up in Pennsylvania, and they had a table with chairs set up for each team, like in the open space out front, and it was labeled for your team. Your team had a table that was their camp space. Some kind of a folding picnic table for each team at the end of the courts. That would be their camp space, or it goes up in the mezzanine, somewhere where they would actually have a home base.
It did a great job of eliminating player and team sprawl. Like one team gets there early, they take a 20 by 20 foot square. Meanwhile, your team gets there, like say you don't play or work the first match, and you're sitting there, you're like, well, we get this little corner by the door that's freezing. So, Logan? Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of different ways we're thinking. It's not so much that we're avoiding that answer. We're saying there's a whole bunch of possibilities. We got to figure out which one will work for the space best. And what would be, again, it goes back to capital wise, what's our biggest bang for our buck? If I got to make a choice between having an extra 100 grand in working capital or buying the nicest tables on the planet, I'm going to go cheap to start, just because that doesn't build the experience, and it makes sure we have our doors open and we're ready to go. The only thing I have been told I have to have nicely done are bathrooms. We cannot have garbage bathrooms.
And enough of them.
That work.
Well, so one of the things I like the idea of, and we can show this later if we get to it. They make modular bathrooms that I like the idea of making them unisex, because if I do modular bathrooms, then I don't have a women's room and a men's room, and on girls tournament day the line's out the door, but on guys tournament day the guys is out the door. If it's unisex,
Explain what you mean by modular bathroom.
so it's basically a self-contained. You want to bring a picture of it up? It's like much fancier porta potty.
It's a very fancy one.
But it's like, you know, the ones where you got to walk up the steps and they've got like the sink. Yeah, like
it's a self-contained stall that has the sink in there. It's all in there. So it's not going into a whole room of stalls. It's all the stalls are there.
But the nice thing about that is it's not permanent. So at the end of the day, we move out. I can sell those back, or I don't know, get rid of them. They tie into plumbing, so I don't. It's not like
no, it's
not like
you're not staring at it all day. Yeah.
Don's.
They're picturing porta pots.
Don's John's not coming in with a big tube, pumping out the things on a Friday night before the tournament. No, some of them you can get ones that are made with showers in them too, and it's going to tie into the building plumbing too. We have plumbers.
Thanks, Seth.
Done. Thanks, Seth. So we have the modular idea. I like that idea because, again, I can say we get a year in and we realize we have too many bathrooms. All right, get rid of them. And when we build it in, that's a whole bigger expense of having something permanent. So we had to run any building plans by the landlord ahead of time, but that would be in the lease. Like, we are going to have to build out X, Y, and Z at the beginning. As far as any other building plans, we just have to run it by them and get permits from the county. So I asked them for 10. They said 5, and right now we've agreed on 7. 7, we are there unless we don't pay our rent. They can't do anything about it. And I think it's a 3% a year increase in rent, which is reasonable and kind of standard. So they can't, in 7 years, if they don't want to renew the lease, we might be in trouble. But in my mind, if we have enough money by then maybe year 4, we do the idea of just building a place the way we absolutely want it. Go find a nice chunk of land and we'd had 3 years to do that while we still had 3 years on the lease there. So I'll go back to the volleyball house where I played back in the day. They went where Columbia Gateway is off 100. There's a big industrial complex back there. It's now Earth Treks. They turned it into a climbing gym. They had that for like 10 years, lost their lease. And they were out of business for like 2 years till they found another site. I want to avoid that. If we get to year 4 or 5, we had enough money in the war chest, I would be looking to build a building and just be done with it, have a home forever. 7 years to me is a good start. It gets us reputation and name. It gets us a good client base. I have all kinds of ways that I've thought of, like, here's how we get clubs to keep coming back. Like, I won't say the dollar amount. Like, I want to have a club cup. Like, if your club comes and wins the most points during the season, like say they take second in gold or they finish in the silver bracket, that club at the end of the season, whoever's the most points, would get like a cash prize. I mean, just anything to get clubs to kind of commit to coming to the facility.
And a giant trophy.
And a giant trophy. Like, we've gone back and forth about like medals for tournaments. Like, okay, they get a medal, but they get like a 6-foot honking trophy that they get to carry home.
They will have cool medals and cool bag tags.
But the club will be able to go, look at the giant trophy we got for taking silver bracket in the 13s division. Like, that's kind of cool. But yeah.
We have a comment. You watch too much Dance Mom.
That's true. Thank you. I agree.
100%.
Listen, it's all about the illusion of fun.
Story.
But it is flashy if they're gonna want to go.
And
Big trophy.
if there's one thing I've learned in all these years of coaching, things that I consider important, nobody else does. Or people consider things important that I don't. If I had my way, uniforms would be a T-shirt with a Sharpie number on the back.
That's why we have other people helping.
But then I learned
Sharpies.
after coaching for a short time that players play better when they feel like they look good. I play better when I play looking homeless because everyone was like, this guy sucks. Oh, really? Watch this. So I've got to negotiate that out. That's still on the table. My goal will be able to get it like a 5-year. renewal option on the lease. That's still in a state of flux. We haven't signed the contract yet. We're still in letter of intent right now. I've got to get them to understand that we have the financial means to actually live up to the lease. Once we get there, then we'll be negotiating the full final lease. But that was on my list of things I want to talk to them about. Any other questions before we? So there's actually a spot in the office space. That office space is not, it's misleading. That's a 60 by 20 space. There's a whole room in there that they have designated right now as a kitchen in there, which we would gut and put a conference table in. So if people want to watch tape, we put a couple TVs in there. We've got all this, we're going to have all those cameras in the place. Why not use them? Yeah, you want to do a film study? Fine.
That space is probably about the size of this.
Yeah, it's about the
Maybe
size of this
a little
room.
smaller, but it's enough for a team to get in there with coaches, and there's a wall where you put film up.
Well, again, the rental package for the clubs, we would factor in X number of hours. You could schedule a conference room for your teams to go look at tape. To a certain point, if you want more, we would charge for that. But yeah, that's another perk. We're trying to find the fine line between a perk and something we should charge for. Like that's kind of what we're still teasing out with kind of the scheduling section. My stretch goal on that is to have a space that we could work in athletic training into and find a way, like the Snap Fitness thing, but on a bigger scale. So it's like, so again, we'll say a club package. Okay, so your teams come in and practice Tuesday, Thursday, but we also have a certified personal trainer in there on Mondays that they come in and train with. Mondays and Tuesdays, we'd have them in there and we'd work out with the trainer. You're on the hook to train youths during this time, but if you want to use the space during the day to train clients, you can, and we'll work out a profit sharing too. It's another revenue stream, but it also is a really good service for young athletes. And again, I'm not at the behest of some third-party contractor corporation that I like. I love Snap, but I'm not bound by their schedule. I can kind of dictate that a little bit better.
All in one place.
It's all in one spot. Pickleball, yeah, I'm not going to say a whole lot about that. It's another revenue stream during the day. I don't have a ton of experience in that world, but the place is going to be sitting there empty during the day anyway. Why not find, if I need to partner with a pickleball company to get in there and run it, and I'll let them, they'll sublease it from the day for a certain amount, fine. It's, again, just added revenue. That the tournament and the advertising revenue I feel like we're at right now in my mind is enough to pay the bills, but that's just gravy. And helps us, again, build up a war chest for future endeavors is probably the best way to put it. That's that. I haven't come up with that yet. Probably wherever. So the lockers would probably be down. If I had to put them somewhere, I would like to keep as much stuff along the mezzanine row as possible. Just because I don't want to mix and match like training area, storage space, courts. I'd like to keep, so down along that far end, if I can keep that all like the storage stuff, so people want to stick their stuff in there, they can. Keep that side plane more of like the training area, like basketball court, weightlifting area, extra volleyball training spot, that sort of thing. And then keep the front for kind of operations and concessions and merchandise and stuff like that. It's tough right now without, like, we've been in there and we've seen it, but even I can't remember exactly like the dimensions. Like I could say 30 feet, but in my head, I can't say how much space claim I'd probably need for X activity. I know what I need for playing wise, but how do I arrange that? It's almost like, to me, it's almost like a little bit of a Jenga puzzle. How do I put this here to optimize to get the most bang for our buck? Now, the nice thing is that side area, that it's a 30 feet to the pillar. Yeah, go ahead and share those. So the pictures that Danielle's bringing up are some of the pictures we took inside of the place. I wish I could bring the video up. We have a video of Bobbi literally rolling a ball down the long ways, and it just keeps going. They're going to come up.
Of that. And
We're sharing, we're unsharing. So yeah, that's basically figuring out how to mix and match space. And again, it all depends on if we have sufficient capital that we can go ahead and do the second and third tier stuff we really want to do. swear this picture is going to be worth it. Or we're going to watch more veterinarian text. So storage to me is a big issue. I think having an outdoor space that we maybe put stuff we don't use very often out there. I think putting the ramp in is huge because again, it gives me that ingress egress, but also lets me move stuff in and out relatively easy if I have to. This is along that far end wall where the bay doors are. Where I was talking about possibly doing like the stairs, like a heated tent and a food truck. That's what these stairs would be. Can you cycle through the pictures easily, or is that a pain? It'd be a pain in the butt. Oh, that's why it won't load. That's the video that I've got. Oh no, that's probably just one of the pictures. I knew we should have practiced this more. I can solve this problem super quick. That's why I brought the tablet as well. We can all huddle around. Well, I know I'm trying to make magic happen here as much as possible. Give us a second online. We're having technical difficulties.
Feel free to put some comments in the chat.
Yeah. Any questions by anyone? Well, thank you. The lucky thing is I don't sleep much. So, but this is really a labor of love for me. And possibly retirement plan. So maybe both. But I still remember when I moved up here and I walked in the Highlands and I'm like, where do we serve? I would like to make a better space for everyone. So hopefully this works out. I think it's going to work out. I really do.
I can't screen share.
Danielle has all the good pictures.
We'll make an album of all the pictures.
Yeah, that's the other big thing. I wanted to get past this meeting before I kind of gave anything else out to the general public. Like, I'm not sure if any of you saw the investor package I put up on the website. You can download pretty much everything we've shown here tonight. But I wanted to make sure that everybody on this list kind of had the basics. As far as the share sale goes, I think I'm going to have to make a pre-registration. Like, I don't think we're going to have people out the door, but I don't want anybody sitting around for a half an hour. Like, everyone shows up at 6 o'clock next Thursday and, well, we can only get you through. It takes 10 minutes to do things. I don't, but that's part of the reason I want to do the pre-registration so I can get an idea of how many people we have. Now, I will probably in that ask, I don't want to ask for specific dollar amounts, but give me a range. Because so say I do the pre-registration and we get through all the investors and we have $21,000 potentially allocated to invest. I'm like, well, this was a fun endeavor. Thank you all for your time. We won't bother getting this. I won't bother selling the shares. Just give your money back next week. If we get to 250, I think we're fine. I think I can leverage the rest from the bank. Again, I go back to the bank and they go, no go. Okay, fine. I'll give your money back as soon as we're done that because that will kill things as well. I really don't mind taking the investor money and using that to leverage a loan, an SBA loan on top of it, because I really think this is a good idea. I've been waiting for somebody to tell me this is a dumb idea for the last 4 or 5 months. No one's told me it's a dumb idea. When I was even looking at the James Run site to get,
I told him he's had a lot of dumb ideas.
when I was even looking at the James Run site, I was talking to a contractor, I was talking to investment folks, and they were like, my SBA guy, and of course he's trying to sell me a loan. He's like, the county's going to be bugging you for space. I'm like, that would be really nice. I would love to be on that side of the equation. To be like, okay, oh look at that. All right, this is the classy pictures that we have. This will work. Here's the video of the walking around. Thank you to everyone at home for watching our amazing detailed digital. I know. I blame myself.
So this is the office space in the front.
That's just the front of the building.
Those windows in one of the offices. The storage closet. That's their office.
So this is, if anyone wants to look at the tablet too, this gives you an idea of the expanse of the space as well.
There's the video. Courtesy of Bobbi.
Again, this is just the office space. It literally needs a coat of paint.
How do you expect to get it? What manner? Here's check.
Cash. I like to walk out of here with a whole wad of cash. Yeah.
Unmarked bills.
For me, personal check. If it bounces, I'll come find you. I pretty much know how to find almost anybody who's in these meetings. I have your addresses on forms and stuff. Danielle lives by almost probably 3/4 of everybody who's going to invest anyway. So I can come hunt you down for the $35 bounce check fee. I don't want to do credit cards or debit cards because I don't want to pay a processing fee. Some of these numbers could get big. I don't want to lose 6% just because I got to process a credit card. So that's my goal on that. And again, I'm going to put out this weekend. I'm probably going to work on the pre-registration stuff and send out to everyone. I'm going to send it to everybody on the investor list group. Give everyone like 24 hours head start before I release that out to the public. So if you want to, I got 100 grand burning a hole in my pocket, Steve. I want to spend it. Okay, I know I got 100,000. I got 100,000 shares off the table. So say we get to that 500,000 share. I'd rather this group get a shot at that first. If we do get over that, then everyone else, all the peasants who aren't part of this call,
This is the entrance.
can go ahead and buy the $1.50 shares.
So this is the second part of the office space. So this is that kitchen area that we could turn into a classroom area. There's extra bathrooms.
There's
in
4
there.
bathrooms in the office space.
And then there's a huge storage closet down at the end for supplies, whatever we need. That's the door that goes to the gym, and that's the door that goes out front that teams could enter for practice.
Pretty impressive, right? It's got a sink.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be a logistics company. They just did shipping. So they just were hauling trucks coming in and out.
This is the good part.
Yeah, this is the good part.
Wow. So if you're getting more than
Well, no. So actually, I do better the less investors I have. Because the more I can leverage, it's actually cheaper paying the bank than paying investors. I could pay probably 7% to the bank over 25 years, or I could pay investors 10% a year for 5 years. Yeah, I should do better by not having to taking a bigger loan and not having as many investors. But in my mind, if we can get people involved in the community who care about this, and you can make a few bucks for you, then that's a win. It's 2% is not going to make or break this deal. It would let me leverage more from the bank if I wanted to, but I would probably cap. I wouldn't want to borrow more than I wouldn't want to have more than $2 million between investors and bank loan. I don't think I need any more money than that. If I have to go back later, I can go get more, especially after we get profitable. But I don't want to do that unless I don't have to.
That's about the size of a half of a volleyball court.
Yeah, that's
that tarp.
That tarp is about half a volleyball court. Had to go to Harbor Freight and buy the biggest tarp they had.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, here it is. I don't think so. So if I have to do anything on that later on, I will. But I think a lot of it's going to matter. Ball's still rolling. And I took a ball and threw it up as high in the ceiling as far as I could, and I couldn't. I probably could have thrown it harder.
I tried to platform pass it like a 12-year-old, and she couldn't even get it up in the ceiling.
The lighting's pretty good, but again, until we get in there and we get going, because I know at Maryland Juniors when we first started practicing there when I was with that club, you look at the light and you get blinded. So they had to re-engineer those lights a little bit. We might have to do that here, maybe put diffusers or something on it, but that would be down the line. We'd figure that out. We wouldn't know until we got into space. I also think throwing a coat of white paint on the walls, adding some soundproofing stuff will change that as well. The color of the courts that we put in will probably dictate a little bit, like, does it tone down the lighting? Does it add to the lighting? What do we really want?
Bobbi had a good point too. She's saying it's hard to tell the lights fully until the courts are in.
Yeah. So honestly, I'd probably make it black and red for a fair part of it with then some hardwood space on top of it. That would probably be the primary colors of the place. I think it also lends itself because that's Edgewood's. There's me folding a tarp up for your viewing pleasure. My old knees.
I don't think we got a picture of you laying on top of it.
No, that's probably better off. We don't have
This
that.
is the lane area where
That's like looking down lane 1, that like we were talking about.
it's just like where.
Oh, this would be lane 3.
No, this is.
This can't be.
This is.
Yeah.
This is against the wall where there might be like serving lanes
Training
and
areas.
training areas, and all of that kind of stuff. So that garage door at the end would be the ingress egress.
Yeah, that would be that door at the very end would be our ingress egress.
That's in the back, and that's looking. So behind the camera here is where the office space
Yeah.
is.
Our backs are at the camera. There's a beautiful retaining pond.
The water view. It has a water view.
There's geese. There's geese poop, which is fun. More of that. It's not loud. Can't hear it
They
inside.
did go by and barely hear.
Probably the biggest thing we think we
You're not
need
gonna
is
hear anything over whistles.
yeah, we think inside we need to do some soundproofing because there's nothing that drives me nuts more than in a tournament. You can't hear yourself. So we'd almost need to go a tournament or two and see what we need to do soundproofing wise because it can get real loud real quick in certain venues. That's the back with all the parking back there. Again, the ag company that works out of the back, I've been there all time of the day, all time of the evening. There's no one there. Yep. So that's one thing that zoning brought up with us about traffic study possibly. The biggest thing that we're going to try and pitch on that side of the equation is that there is literally nobody going in and out other than us. If Amazon can run their trucks in and out, I don't see why we can't handle a couple hundred cars in a morning to get them in and out. The word we've
On a weekend.
yeah, on a weekend, that's going to be our prime time area of having the most people in and out. Weekends, there's nobody there. It's dead, which is fantastic. That is Danielle's office. That's Bobby's office. That's my office.
Another office.
I believe they're putting in an aquarium if we get this place. I will be in my car working most days, evidently, in the gym. But yeah, it's the office space is ready to go. We have plenty of if we had to get by with bathrooms, so say we open in October and we're not doing tournaments till January, we could get by on the 4 bathrooms we have just for club practice. There's plenty of bathrooms in there just for club. Really, it's tournament ramp up that we have problems with.
The other thing that's already installed is there's already a slop sink out there and a water bottle fill station is already installed and right? Yeah, I mean that's a huge expense that we won't have to incur installing that.
Oh, it's some company out of I think Florida. They own this. It's a big investment company that owns it.
I'm gonna go ahead and go camera off.
So the biggest thing I've been able to get out of them is they're willing to give me a 3-month rent abatement. That's probably the best thing I can get out of them right now. I don't want to push it too far. Like I've actually had a couple questions about like, is this market rent? Yes. Is commercial warehouse space kind of on the down tick right now? Yes. As much as I would like to push for extra kind of concessions in the lease, I just want the space. If the numbers work, I don't think us paying an extra $1 a square foot is going to break us over the course of a year. If they're fine with all the build out we need to do, then that's another bonus. The biggest thing is we don't have a strong, like we don't have 20, we have been in business for 20 years and we have all this capital. Like they're going to take a chance on us, but that's where I don't really want to push too hard on concessions at the lease because I would rather just get in the space. And then 7 years from now, we were renegotiating like, listen, we've paid you on time every month. We've done X, Y, and Z to improve the property. Let's talk about that lease again. Extending out for another 5 or 7 years. Oh,
Is there a no later than date to have the facility ready for scheduling tournaments for next club season?
yes and no. Reasonably, like I'm still finding it hard. I can't get teams in tournaments now this late in the season for club season. Like I've got teams that are like, we'd like to play another tournament. I'm like, there's no space. You tell me where you want me to play. There's nothing. So I would like to have it up and running by September. I'd like to be able to say that we are a viable site for tournaments by July or October. July or August, so then we can get on AES and get the word out there. I think the first season, again, we get a 50% fill rate. We're doing well. The second season is where we're really going to see things snowball because people are going to want to go, we went to this facility. We had a good experience. Our players it was a good tournament. We feel confident about putting all of our teams in there next season. And then we give the incentives to do that. So I think that answered your question, Tony.
Repeat next question.
Once the shares convert to common and dividends are no longer paid out, are profits only realized once those stocks are sold, or is there some kind of annual profit sharing payout? So when they go to common shares will then get the dividend payout from the common shares. That will be strictly based off of revenues and profits. And again, there'll be a board of directors to decide what the revenue, what the dividend is. Will it still be 10%? Oh, 10 cents on the share? I don't know. That depends on how much profit we're making. I reasonably think we could probably keep that same price point, but I can't guarantee that. Yeah. So it's an S-Corp. The operating company is going to be an LLC. So that'll just go pass through taxation straight to the investment company once we pay all the bills. So that makes it really easy on that end. So we don't have to worry about getting taxed 2 and 3 times. So I'm trying to avoid for the investors. Yes, it's an S-Corp. Hard to tell lights fully until courts are into. Yeah. Agreed, Bobby.
She's the pro. She knows.
Yeah. You never know lighting is going to work till you get in there. I think we walked in there, so when you turn them on, it's those typical lights where they turn on and they're kind of dim. We turned them on, we're like, oh no. Then after 5 minutes, it was pretty well lit there. So we are at 7:50. Any question? No one's committed yet. Strangely, I would probably give intensity first choice because that's where I coach. But I'm also on a certain timeline of how long I'm going to wait for answers from anyone about court space. Do I think we'll fill it up entirely? No, but I also am not going to wait too long to go down the list of people I think would want court space. I want to fill this place up week on week.
Other clubs have been looking to get into the area as well and would probably jump at available court space.
Yeah, I'm kind of banking on the fact that I think for court space, I'm budgeting $60 a court hour right now. Still cheaper than what we're paying now, but it's also a better site. You don't have to put. I, as a coach, hate putting up nets and taking them down. I'm so tired of putting up nets and taking them down. I hate it. So I have MCA is separate. I have not, other than talking to Christine about this, a little bit about court space, I have not talked to anyone else.
But they are aware.
Yeah.
A lot of them know that this is in the
probably
works.
like 3 months ago, this was kind of in a vacuum. And those of you who have been to these meetings a couple times, you were kind of in the know and not everyone else was. It's not a secret anymore. And I did that intentionally because I want to keep MCA separate from intensity. Like for me, when I first started MCA to do training and stuff, I wanted to make sure that we could get premier kids in. They weren't like, that's an intensity clinic. I'm not going to that. I wanted to avoid all that. I just want to train kids. So I've purposely kept this pretty separate from intensity. Again, I'll probably talk to Christine first. I don't know what's going to happen at Premier with Johnny. He's not going to be around next year, so I don't know who's going to be the figurehead there.
He's not going to be at HCC. I'm not sure.
I don't know how he's going to do that.
Either way, it doesn't matter because there's Premier, there's MBA, there's Apex, there's Intensity. Baltimore Elite there's been rumors that they're trying to get around.
2 or 3 years ago, Baltimore Elite was trying to get space at John Carroll.
You've got Baba, you've got Momentum. See, there's other clubs up north too. So we're kind of in a sweet spot in between. But Charm City, maybe they want a northern foothold. We don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I would like to keep our local clubs keyed in first. But if they're not going to take the opportunity, this is a business. Like this is me going from coach to businessman. I need to fill courts. Here's the price up till this date. I could go that far. Be like, I need a decision by this date or the price goes up. Because I'm sure I'll probably find someone to fill that court space.
Does that answer your question at home?
I hope that helped. Yay. So yeah, I'm trying to not wear the same hat at the same time as coach, youth development mindset, and then business person. I'm trying to keep those separate because I kind of have to. I think it's a nice way. I think at the end of the day, we can get a nice return for investors. We can build something to help the community, but also I can afford to do this as a full-time job as opposed to staying up till 2 a.m. doing stuff for volleyball and being exhausted. And hopefully my boss doesn't notice most days at work.
The other thing that you've mentioned in the past.
Don't go tell my boss.
Didn't mention tonight, is about just bringing money into the county.
That's the other thing. Hartford County is, it's like, it's not as affluent as like Howard County was. Like down there, I remember when I started my club down in Howard County, I was charging like $2,000 for a season. One of the moms called me after the first season. She goes, charge more. I was like, what? She goes, people think they're getting what they pay for. If you're not charging enough, they think you're low rent and you don't know what you're doing. I was like, really? She goes, charge more. I was like, but then I took that and I made a scholarship program out of it. So I was like, sure, I'll charge more. And then I'll let kids play who can't afford to play, who have talent. But so the goal, probably the overarching goal of this is, oh, you're from Potomac? You live in a $7 million house? Come buy our $45 hoodies. And then that's money we can put back in our community. Sorry, I misspoke. Our $450 hoodies. Please put your zip code in here, and then the price is based on the zip code they enter. So the goal is to bolster our own programs here, bring money in from outside. So it's, no offense, most of you parents, I love you for the money you spend on volleyball. You're insane. But if we can bring money in from outside, we can maybe bring costs down for our own parents, for our families to get more kids on the court. I hate that there's no real space between rec and club, and that's a huge commitment, time and money wise. Maybe there's that niche in the middle where kids want to play, but they can't afford to get on the court because maybe they play 2 other sports. Like we've got a girl on our team, fantastic lacrosse player, fantastic softball player. They got to cut out time to do both and maybe do homework and get some sleep and maybe have a little bit of a social life. Maybe there's kids who can't make that kind of commitment. We can get them on the court too.
I don't always like Boston middle school, but like we do that as a high school. Tons of people.
One of the things that Maryland Juniors does that I love is a summertime league for high school teams. Like, and here's the beautiful thing. Danielle's a high school coach. There's certain rules of who she can and can't coach in and out of the season. I am not. I can coach whoever I want, as much as I want, however much I want. And if I am in a facility, I'm like,
I can coach 4 players on a team.
And she can only coach an hour a week out of season, like a lesson?
No one-on-ones. There's a whole 400-page rule book on what you can and can't do as a high school coach.
That's why people have asked me about, like, you think about go back into high school? I'm like, not never.
Luckily, I know people that do it.
And so it'd be like, I can run a 4 o'clock lesson on a Tuesday because we'll have the court space to do it. If I want to go film videos, I can go film videos.
What's your lesson wait list look like right now?
I probably got 20, 30 kids who are like, can we get a lesson? I'm like, no, I'll let you know when I got court space because I can't, like in season, if you want a lesson, I can't get you a lesson. I can't. It's not that I don't want to. I can't.
There's no court space and time is tough because full-time jobs.
And probably the last side of it, and then we probably were at that time. The boys side needs to get bigger. And right now, I can tell you this as part of intensity, you got to make a choice. We have 14 teams. Could we field a boys team? Sure. Do we have the coaches? No. Do we have the court space? No. So where are the majority of players at? The girls side. There's no room to expand the boys because if I'm a club, I'm not going to make that leap of faith to build a boys team that may or may not be there.
It's also tougher to get court space for the boys because their season runs a little bit different. So you can't really run it concurrently with the girls team because they're a little earlier and they end earlier. So then what do you do with that court space at the end if you've rented it for the boys and there's nobody there to use it? It doesn't line up. When you have a facility with enough courts, you can do that because you can run basketball when you're not running the boys team, or you can run field hockey or lacrosse or whatever else.
And I know we've been very volleyball centric tonight, and like Chris does basketball. We can make space for them too. Like there's not going to be, there will be enough bandwidth to support more than just volleyball. And if there isn't, hell, we'll build another building. Like we'll find another warehouse. We'll actually have, this gives us a foothold to go on and make more space if we want to. Because I know that was the hard part for me. Great, I can get, like I said, a 10,000 square foot space, but I'm just working to pay the bills. How do I expand that to the next stage? There's small enough to run clinics and camps, and you got to go bigger. That middle ground doesn't exist. If you try and sit in that space, you're going to fail. So we're just going to go after the big deal and succeed and change the face of the sports around here. And if we fail, then I'll pay you all back and I'll work till I'm 80. That's probably going to happen anyway, the way things are going. So why not just not leave anything for the bank when I die?
I sent Steve a reel earlier of senior citizens in a facility playing volleyball with a beach ball, seated volleyball. And I said, this is going to be us in 20 years.
My response is going to be me in about 3 years. But so it's 8 o'clock. That's kind of the big song and dance. If anybody has any other alibis online, feel free to ask them now. Anybody in the room have any questions? Do I have flyers? Like handouts? No, I'm not. No, that era is done.
Social media.
I'll put up a flyer at Starbucks for a free lesson. Take this.
Yes.
No, I unfortunately,
Instagram.
this is the other part. We need people with better at social media than me. This will let us hire people. Chris is way better at all this than I am. Like anybody better than me at social media. Who knows? We had the girls make TikToks. That make more money than even the tournaments combined. Like have one of those go viral. Those things are ridiculous. I don't know. People are monetizing stupid stuff online. Why not monetize this? I would love to bring in Instagram money. Doesn't cost us anything. But again, that's kind of the basic pitch. Nobody else online weighing in? Anyone in the room? We'll be tearing down for the next few minutes. You're going to get us one-on-one. I guess real quick, as far as the stock sale goes, basically the way to work is we'll basically have stock certificates to give to everyone whoever buys stock. We'll take all the pertinent information for giving out dividends, that sort of thing. I will take whatever funds we get Thursday and Friday. If we make the mark, I'll go ahead and probably walk in there Monday morning with a boatload of checks or cash. Like I may have armed escort if it's cash. But walk in there and be like, here's our deposit for our account. I want to open up an account. We're ready to go. And then give me a line of credit so that I can send it off to the landlord and be like, look, we are financially viable. And we start working on the SBA loan. The SBA loan timeline would probably line up to about just at the end of the zoning process. It's like a 3 or 4 month process there too. But we've already primed the pump over there. He's already pushed it to some of his folks. Get through zoning, and then we're off to the races if we have the capital. So that's my sales pitch. Thank you all for coming. What kind of documents do you mean? So basically we'll just give you a stock certificate with actually I've got a copy of it up. Listen, Danielle designed this. It's pretty great. She did the front, I did the back. You won't be shocked about how the two look different. And then we'll have everything registered. So we'll have all the contact information. If we want to do direct deposit, we could send that as well. My plan is I think what I wrote up was the last Friday of every year is when dividends will go, one lump sum for the year. So you can pay for Christmas. There's nothing, wouldn't be so bad getting a check for X number of dollars right when you're paying holiday bills. And plus then I don't have to worry about taxes from year to year. I can just get it all done in 1 year. Here's the certificate. Pretty amazing. That's the front side. Go to the back. Yeah. And the back is basically,
That's Steve's part.
that's my part. Basically all the covenants of the preferred shares, what you get, all the,
Steve.
in the bottom right, because I had the question, custodial accounts for minors. So you can buy it, but your parents hold on a stock certificate. They're transferable if you want to sell them, go for it. But you got to let us know so then we can change our roles on who owns the stock, that sort of thing. Yep. I wish I could say we were on an exchange where you could go on your Schwab account and sell these shares. No, sorry. One day, but not now. I don't want to deal with the SEC or any of that sort of stuff. So this is,
Give me credit for the logo.
again, this is very homegrown.
Kind of the cool part about it.
Yeah. You can frame it, put it in a notebook. If you really want to put it above your bed, Logan, you go for it.
We will even give you a frame.
Yeah, sure.
All custodial accounts get a frame.
But so that's the basic idea. Thank you all for coming out. Go enjoy whatever's left of your Friday. If you got any questions, you got my email.
If you want to see the
Give me a
pictures,
shout.
not with my pictures in it,
Yeah, you're welcome to hang out and look at some of the videos. Again, you got questions, email me, call me, say, this is a dumb idea, don't do it. Because I've managed to convince my wife this is a good idea, which I feel like was the toughest sell of any of them. Everyone online, thank you. We're going to log off. I guess. What do you mean? Thank you. So the advertising part of it, like right now,
Thanks.